Imagine standing on the Mediterranean coast in the 16th century, gazing far out into the shimmering azure depths. As soon as the green flag emblazoned with a silver scimitar rose over the horizon, the city bells would ring out in shrill alarm. People fled and wailed, whispering the name that struck terror into the entire Christian world, Barbarossa Hayreddin. Tonight, let us sit beside the crackling fire and walk with him into the true story of his life. He was the lifelong nemesis of Europe's famed naval admiral Andrea Doria, and the unshakable maritime shield trusted by Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. Beneath the blood-stained scimitar and the stereotyped label of pirate lay an intensely rational, deeply lonely man who mastered the logic of power games. Born the son of a humble potter on the island of Syros, he rose to become Grand Admiral of the Ottoman Empire. Every wave along his path hid earth-shaking secrets. The crack in his fate began in an ordinary potter's family on the eastern Mediterranean coast. Back then, he was still known as Heiser. He was not the only warrior in the family. He had an elder brother named Auric, the original true Red Beard. Heiser once wished only to live as an honest merchant and sailor, but the seas of that era never allowed peaceful lives. On a long voyage, Auric was captured by the Knights Hospitaller and endured unspeakable suffering chained to the rowing benches of a dark, damp galley. After enduring countless hardships to ransom his brother, Heiser found the once gentle man consumed by hatred and a burning desire for revenge against Western religious authority. To survive, and to answer the anger stirring in their blood, Heiser took up the scimitar and stood as his brother's shadow. They fled their homeland for the broader, wilder shores of North Africa. From the ports of Tunisia, they began building their own maritime kingdom. They were branded lawless privateers, but Heiser understood better than anyone, pirates only live for the day, while he dreamed of tomorrow. In a brutal raid on a Spanish fortress, Auric lost his left arm. Yet with a silver prosthetic limb and even fiercer assaults, he forged the terrifying legend of Barbarossa. Heiser watched silently, learning patience amid his brother's fury and alliances amid enemy sieges. He waited for the moment that would turn him from a fugitive into a ruler. In 1518, Spanish cannons crumpled the walls of Algiers. His elder brother Auric fell in battle, his head hung high as a trophy for the enemy. Heiser took hold of the heavy scimitar and inherited the blood-soaked title, Barbarossa. He was surrounded on all sides. The people of Algiers lived in fear, his fleet stirred with unrest, and Spanish pursuers closed in fast. A common pirate would have fled with treasure, but Heiser made a decision that shocked everyone. He sent a letter of allegiance to the Ottoman Sultan in Constantinople, voluntarily offering the North African lands he had fought so hard to conquer to the great empire. This was not surrender, it was a masterful gamble. He traded territory for the Sultan's cannons and imperial political protection. The Sultan accepted his pledge and bestowed upon him the name Hayreddin, meaning the essence of faith. No longer a fugitive pirate named Heiser, he became governor of Algiers, the rightful ruler of the seas under the Ottoman Empire. He set about rebuilding his fleet on a grand scale, designing galleys lighter and more agile than European ships, perfectly adapted to the Mediterranean's shifting coastal currents. He did not merely plunder at sea, he governed a city, a utopian haven for all refugees of the Mediterranean. Every Moor driven out by Spain, every displaced Jew, found safety and shelter in Hayreddin's ports. Beneath his veil of ocean mist, he wove an intelligence network spanning the entire Mediterranean. In 1533, Hayreddin sailed into the golden harbor of Constantinople with dozens of warships laden with spoils, coming formally to audience with Suleiman the Magnificent. In his weathered blue eyes, the Sultan saw boundless ambition and unwavering loyalty. He named Hayreddin Capitan Pasha, Grand Admiral of the Imperial Navy. The promotion elevated his power, yet cast him into the deadlier whirlpool of palace intrigue. Noble-born pashas mocked his salty seafarer roots and humble origins. Hayreddin silenced them all with victory. He brought back not only gold, but the whole of Tunisia and dominance over the Mediterranean. His true glory arrived at the Battle of Preveza in 1538, a decisive duel for maritime supremacy. Pope Paul III assembled the Grand Holy League, gathering hundreds of elite warships from Spain, Venice, and Genoa. Commanding the Allied fleet was Andrea Doria, hailed as the Neptune of Europe, a legendary admiral who had never known defeat. Hayreddin commanded barely half their number of ships, yet he possessed an innate instinct for the tides and winds of his native sea. On that fateful day, Hayreddin read the subtle shifts of wind and current, leading his fleet to slice into the cumbersome Allied formation like a pack of wolves. For the first time, Dorian knew dread. He watched Hayreddin's red beard billow atop his flagship, as if the man himself embodied the storm. The Allied forces suffered a crushing defeat. On that day, the Mediterranean became an inland lake of the Ottoman Empire. The name Barbarossa Hayreddin became a bogeyman European mothers used to quiet their crying children. Yet for heroes, old age often brings only silence and sea mist. Having conquered the waves, Hayreddin began to yearn for eternal peace. He returned to Constantinople, building an elegant mansion and his own mosque along the shores of the Bosphorus. He stepped down from naval command and began writing his memoirs, penning the roar of the oceans and his longing for old companions. He grew gentle with age, funding poor students and tending to retired sailors, seeing echoes of his own youth in their hollow eyes. At dusk in 1546, the old man forged by a lifetime of waves passed away quietly in his bed. His funeral was understated yet filled with imperial honor. The Sultan walked beside his coffin, and the entire Ottoman fleet fired cannon salutes across the strait, shaking the very waters of the Bosphorus. Following his last wish, he was buried beside the shore. He wished to forever hear the tide lapping the stone steps, and watch every departing ship sail beyond his horizon. He was a man of contradictions, his hands stained with blood, yet seeking mercy within his faith. His life remains an epic saga impossible to define. Long after Barbarossa Hayreddin's death, his legend lingered in the sea mist of the Mediterranean. To this day, every Turkish naval warship passing his mausoleum in Besiktas, Istanbul, pays solemn salute. He left behind not only the tactical standards of the Ottoman Navy, but an enduring spiritual legacy of unyielding maritime spirit. Returning to the question from the prologue, who was he? A pirate, or a grand admiral? A devil, or a visionary? Perhaps within this quiet tale we find the answer. He was merely a man who clung fiercely to the helm of his destiny in a chaotic age. He shattered the ambitions of Charles V and wove together the Ottoman Empire's dreams of dominion over the sea. He emerged from the sea mist and departed with the tides, leaving behind only a blue saga rolling gently with the waves. Tonight's story leaves us with reverence for the ocean, and the hidden tenderness sealed away by history. The fire has dimmed, yet the rhythm of the waves still murmurs softly across the distant tides of time. Good night.